It's odd that I've been asked how to properly review a movie or a game. Yes, even at my current measly subscriber count at the time of this upload being fewer in total than the entire Irish Republican Army, but nonetheless my opinion is first and foremost to be honest. You can enjoy something even if the quality of said media is bad, because I do not equate enjoyment to quality. Case in point, Godzilla, King of the Monsters made me so fucking hard I had to call my doctor because of how long my erection lasted. However, I am not naive enough to ignore the faults and claim perfection based on bias. I could easily rant and rave about this film like coming off the high that was Pacific Rim, but that would be intellectually dishonest, like reading your Facebook feed and pretending you know what the hell you're talking about on the matter of thermonuclear fission. The filmmakers took 5 years to make this film, and it seems like they are still a little conserved about what choices to make. Case in point, the monster fights. In the 2014 film, Godzilla was as shy of the camera as the farmer's daughter on the casting couch, and whenever they did get around to the brawl, the camera would cut away like the numerous fake-out deaths in Game of Thrones Season 8. While in this film, Godzilla at least has become more comfortable and was willing to show off a little bit more skin, seeing as he spent the last 5 years going to the gym. Amazing how much swimming does for your glutes. Speaking of not being shy about the camera, Godzilla has brought some friends. Rodan, Mothra, and King Ghidorah are just as eager to jump in the front of the camera and duke it out like Godzilla, and when they do, I advise that you wear the thickest pants, because if you're an idiot like me and wear gym shorts, God help you. Trying to walk out to my car wasn't an issue with the dowsing rod between my legs, just embarrassing if you don't do a quick tuck job for the little guy. I mean, massive, fucking huge! And they're stuck to me like Mothra spit webbing. As for the ratio of monster to human, since this is the hand-in-hand question, like we're asked, why'd she leave you? Followed by, how much money does he have? It's more like your average Godzilla film. This is going to be the largest point of contention for critics and audiences. The 2014 film was praised for having Godzilla roleplay the shark from Jaws while the humans took center stage, but the humans were so bland a cardboard sandwich would taste like fine cuisine in comparison. The scale of the monsters shown with many upward angles helped to project the size of the monsters like if Isaac looked up. So the filmmakers took all the criticism from the first movie and decided to only listen to half of it. There are more monster fights, hooray! But we're stuck with bland humans most of the film. Boo. Much of the humor and acting is campy, hooray! But a few jokes stuck out like a lone man thinking he could tank a conga line of tanks. Boo. The monsterverse is expanding with a mix of bold and new monsters, hooray! But the logic of characters to bring about this cinematic universe are terrible. Boo. And speaking of, when I learned the reason for all the monsters awaking, my eyes rolled so far back into my skull I could see my inner child trying to suck on a brush of lead paint to restore the brain cells. And the inclusion of a conspiracy theory had me wishing the local theater had a gallon of paint it could sell me. And I realized where all the fat from Godzilla's ass went. The nostalgia ate it. I get the basis of this film was to reintroduce this monster and others to new generations while also tickling the prostate of older fans. However, the amount tossed in here bloats the film instead of pacing it out across the series. This comes off more like the DCEU rather than the MCU, and this is my biggest worry. The MCU was a surprise hit, but it did have a plan to stick with and adjust accordingly. The DCEU just fucking winged it, and it took them forever to finally make films that were better than Man of Steel, which was only just good enough. Legendary's MonsterVerse started with at least the solid basis of making a film that could stand alone. The film then became a shared universe with the release of Kong Skull Island, which again, for the most part, was a well-contained single film. Now with The King of the Monsters, it feels like we skipped a few movies and went straight to the Justice League. The fireworks shot off prematurely with less than eruptive applause. Arguably, the most climactic moment in all of Godzilla's history happens, and it's gone. But let me pose a question. What to you is the perfect Godzilla film? Do you prefer humans struggling to defeat the King of the Monsters like the original Gojira with symbolism so direct you couldn't miss it if it landed on your face and started to wiggle? Because there are a bunch of films that do just that. Or are you more of a Monster Bash kind of person who couldn't care less about anything the humans in these titles do, like Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, where everything from the Showa era bum rushes King Ghidorah to death? Or the fan bukkake fest that was Godzilla Final Wars? Or are you an in-the-middle kind of person who doesn't care as long as the film is good? I bring this up because I have noticed a lot of reviewers either love or dislike the film for one reason or another, but the question I posed is never answered, so I'll ask again. What to you is the perfect Godzilla film? Personally, I liked King of the Monsters. The monsters are forces of nature, the humans are a mixed bag like eating a handful of Birdie Bots every flavored beans, the monsters duke it out like a WWE Battle Royale, and there is set up to continue this series. But there is the issue of logical errors so massive you could fit a freight train through them. Some of the action is still cut away from, like the farmer found his daughter's couch interview, and the film is a little full of itself by cramming famous scenes from the Showa and Heisei series in, like the witch fattening up Hansel and Gretel, but without the context for the impact. Now excuse me while I take an angle grinder and shovel out back and try to remove my shorts.